Hello guys, good afternoon. I think we can start already our lecture. While waiting for them, let us just start already our discussion, okay? Clear ba yung audio natin guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Miss Gemma. Okay, so we are already on Module 4 dito sa subject nating Comparative Models and Policing. So today, we are tasked to discuss about the so-called problem-oriented policing. So this is in continuation with the different policing system that we are discussing, specifically under the community-based policing. Now, uh, we can start our discussion by first talking about the very concept of problem-oriented policing. So the concept of problem-oriented policing, especially the approach that they're using under this type of policing, is their focus on discrete pieces of problem that can be identified through the different the different investigation or different analysis that involves the concept of policing. So in short, ang pag-aaralan guys natin dito or ang pinakapunto ng problem-oriented policing is that they wanted to focus, gusto nilang mag-focus doon sa mga tinatawag nating existing problem causing or contributing to the factors of the existence of criminality. Okay? Ngayon, may I know, I want your answer for this. Um, what are some of the factors that contributes to the existence of criminality? Ano sa tingin niyo yung mga pwedeng dulot ng pagtaas ng criminality within a certain area? Anyone?
Sir.
Yes, Miss Gemma?
Yung una kong maisip, sir, kung bakit meron pa rin criminality is yung existence ng poverty, which is hindi ma-address and yun yung isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit meron pa rin criminality kasi syempre kailangan ng tao ng needs para makasurvive. So, yung iba walang choice.
Definitely.
Yun yung sa tingin ko, sir.
Yes, I would agree with you, Miss Gemma. Of course, the poverty is listed as one of the root cause of criminality. Kumbaga, ito yung mga isa sa common reason kung bakit ang isang tao na involved into commission of crime. Especially kung papansinin natin, marami talagang number of crimes, mataas talaga ang rate ng mga tinatawag nating property crimes, gaya ng pang-hold up, pagnanakaw, pang-i-snatch, and so on. And the reason behind this is usually it is because they don't have enough financial resources to survive their everyday life. Kulang na kulang ang kanilang pera, kulang na kulang ang kanilang financial resources para ma-sustain kumbaga yung uri ng pamumuhay nila. But it does not mean, hindi ibig sabihin nito that this is the only reason why people commit crime. That is why, sabi ko, just give me one. And what Miss Gemma had stated probably is one of the reason or factors that are existing in our society that really contributes to the existence of criminality. But my secondary question to this is that what can the law enforcement do? Miss Gemma, what do you think can the law enforcement do to address this problem? Ano kaya sa tingin mo ang pwedeng gawin ng ating mga kapulisan para nang sa ganun ay mabigyan nila ng solusyon or mabigyan man lang nila ng konting solusyon itong problemang ito?
Yung pag-a-address naman ng poverty, sir, is nasa government yan. So, I think yung magagawa na ng mga kapulisan is proper implementation of the law. Tapos, sir, kung yun yung may pinakamaraming cause ng existence ng criminality, pwedeng ilapit yun sa government para sila na yung bahalang mag-address doon.
Correct, no? So, actually, kaya nga meron tayong different agencies of the government, ano. For the law enforcement, no, if they can be able to identify, for example, that poverty is one of the common factors that are contributing to the existence of criminality, which is true naman, no? But the fact is that they cannot do something about it kasi it's not their responsibility naman to address the issue. That is why under problem-oriented policing, it involves also the involvement of different agencies of our government to work together in order to address this issue. So let's say, for example, as Ms. Gemma had stated, no, on his understanding, I think one of the reason why criminality exists, no, maybe on our perspective, since we are in the criminology profession, no, we might identify this as one of the factors that are contributing to the existence of criminality, no. So upon determining such factors, no, pag nalaman natin or na-observe natin na ito nga yung isang factors, what can we do in the field of law enforcement? Actually, there's nothing we can do because it is not our responsibility to provide livelihood, to provide jobs for the people, no? So this is why there is a need for us to coordinate with different agencies na pwedeng makatulong sa atin sa larangan na ito. Like for example, the Department of Labor, no? What can they do, no? To address this issue? The Department of Social Welfare and Development, what can they do to address this issue? So under problem-oriented policing, not only that we are trying to identify the common reason bakit nagko-commit ng crime ang isang tao, but also we are trying to look for solution for these factors through the coordination of the organization, of the PNP organization to the different agencies that has something to do with this problem. No? So yun yung iisipin natin. It's very important, no? Kung nanonotice nyo that the very concept of the problem-oriented policing is the identification of the problem. Plus, no, the coming up with a solution, possible solution on how can we address the existing problems that we have. It's more on proactive. No? Nakita nyo? The concept of problem-oriented policing is that it's more on proactive since we are trying to identify the very concept of the existence of criminality and we try to provide solution. Kasi kung titignan natin actually the benefit of this compared to the usual police procedure or law enforcement procedure involving arrest, no, imprisonment, and enforcement of the law, no, etong problem-oriented policing na to are really targeting yung tinatawag nating long-term solution. No? Pag inaresto mo ba ang isang tao, for example, inaresto mo ang isang tao dahil siya ay nagnakaw, so we are trying to eliminate his capability already to recommit the crime that he committed. No? So, nagnakaw siya, inaresto mo si Pedro, nagnakaw siya, kinulong mo siya. Does that solve the problem now on the criminality? Wala na bang ibang magnanakaw kasi wala na si Pedro doon sa komunidad na yan? The answer is no. No? Hanggat merong katulad ni Pedro, no, na kulang or nahihirapan sa buhay at walang maayos na pagkukunan ng kanyang ikabubuhay, wala siyang mapagkunan ng maayos na financial resources, meron at meron pa rin mag-e-exist na magnanakaw. So that's the very concept, ano? Yun yung tinitignan natin, long-term solution for the existence of crime. That is through the identification of the different problem. Okay, so may I ask again, isa pa, no? From the group, no? Hindi nakasali si Ms. Gemma, sumagot na siya. Any other possible factors that you had observed that causes the existence of criminality? Ano pa sa tingin niyo ang pwedeng mag-contribute sa pagtaas or pagdami ng kriminalidad within our community? Anyone? Let's call on Mr. Ariola. Yan. Mr. Ariola, are you there?
Sir, ano yung tanong?
Ay, Miss pala. I'm sorry. Lian. Okay, so what are other factors that you can see that causes the increase of criminality? Miss Gemma said, poverty is one. For you, ano naman yung iba pa?
Yung paglago ng drugs, sir.
Okay, drugs. Yan. So, yung paglago ng drugs, does that contribute to criminality? Paano sa tingin mo?
Yes. Kasi sir, kapag yung parang lulong ka sa may droga, sir, hindi mo alam yung gagawin mo, sir.
Okay. So, the use of drug itself is already a crime problem. No, hindi ko na syempre, yung paggamit ng droga, that is crime already. No? So, pwede nating pag-usapan what are the reason bakit ang mga tao gumagamit ng drugs. Or pwede nating pag-usapan mismo kung ano ang epekto ng paggamit ng drugs sa criminality. Well, of course, you stated that dahil kapag ang isang tao lulong na sa droga, ay pwedeng hindi niya na alam yung kanyang ginagawa, which makes him more capable of engaging into criminality. So that is a valid answer, of course. Now, Miss Lian, what do you think the law enforcement agencies can do, no, in order to address this problem? Since sabi mo ang problemang pwedeng nakakadagdag sa paglago ng kriminalidad is yung droga. So ano sa tingin mo ang kayang gawin ng kapulisan natin, no, para masolusyonan ang problemang ito in relation to drugs?
Siguro, uumpisahan nila dun sa mga concern, yung mga head nung drugs syndicate siguro, sir, para kapag nahuli na yung mga drug lord dito sa Philippines, pwedeng mabawasan na siguro, sir.
Okay. Again, that's a valid answer. No? Kasi meron naman tayong mga approach on how we deal with drugs. It's either unahin mo yung ulo or unahin mo yung ugat. Now, whatever the case is, as long as meron kang ginagawa to address the problem, then that is a valid answer. Yes. Okay. So, kung tinarget natin yung mga drug lord na yan, there is a tendency that yung hierarchy, kumbaga, ng different drug organization will fall down, no? Kasi kung wala na yung ulo nila, may tendency na yung mga financier, wala na rin yan, magsisialis na rin, magkakawatak-watak na yung mga drug organization na ito. Which would, in turn, result into the kumbaga mababaklas na yung organization, pwedeng mabawasan na rin yung production of drugs, which make it possible na kapag konti na lang ang drugs sa ating society, mababawasan na rin yung mga taong nalululong sa drugs. Okay? Now, in that sense, in the problem cited by Miss Lian, of course, the PNP can do something about it kasi they are the law enforcement naman. So it's talk about law enforcement. They can just coordinate with the PDEA. They could just coordinate with the NBI for their assistance, no? And they could create a program that would address the problem. And definitely, no, in this case, no, makikita pa rin natin na meron pa rin pangangailangan or kailangan pa rin nating makipag-coordinate sa different agencies in order to make this happen. Kasi hindi lang ito about drugs eh. What will you do after mong maaresto yung mga drug lords, after mong maaresto yung mga drug addicts, what would you do? No? Alangan namang ikulong mo lang sila without a program that would address their problem. Ano? So, hindi ka ba gagawa ng programa, for example, na kung saan is magkakaroon ng rehabilitation natin? And when we talk about rehabilitation, it is not just the law enforcement that is in charge with that. Ano? Pwedeng papasok din dyan yung psychologist for counseling, no? The different doctors for rehabilitation and religious leader for another set of rehabilitation and so on. So, I do hope na appreciate nyo yung concept ng problem-oriented policing. No? Kasi sabi nga natin, we are trying, under this policing system, they are trying to provide a long-term solution for the problem on criminality. We will realize that that at some point it's not just about arrest. It's not just about imprisonment that would solve the crime problem that we have. No? Minsan kasi ang mahirap is when the law enforcement agencies are all focused on the so-called reactive programs such as arrest, no? Neutralization, and so on. Hindi sila nagfo-focus doon sa pinaka-root cause kung bakit nag-e-exist itong mga problemang ito. Which was the basic proposal of this type of policing system. Ano? So, unahin natin, no, yung tinatawag nating problem. We identify the problem, no? Then, pag nagkaroon na identify natin yung problem, let's analyze, no? Let's analyze what are things that contributes to this. Gaya nga ng example natin kanina, if the drug problem is the cause, what are the reason kung bakit ang isang tao nalululong sa droga? No? Ano yung mga dahilan kung bakit nalululong sa droga? Halimbawa, poverty also. Ano yung reason kung bakit itong mga taong to nagiging mahirap? Do you think there are sub-factors also for poverty? No? Meron pa kayang ibang pwedeng dahilan kung bakit ang isang tao na naghihirap and whatsoever? Pwedeng because of lack of opportunity, no? Kasi hindi sila nakapag-aral. So there's a problem with the education again. Tama? If, for example, there is discrimination kaya hindi siya makapasok ng trabaho, no? So there's a problem with how we treat each individual, no? Meron pa rin discrimination sa ating society. The more and more we try to identify the problem or the reason of the problems that we have, no? The more we try to identify what really is causing these different things, no? Yan. For example, poverty, that's our factor. Drugs, that's our factor. But what really is the reason why these factors exist? Bakit may poverty? Lack of education, lack of opportunity, no? Corruption, and many more. Bakit merong drug addiction? Again, it could be poverty, it could be the presence of drugs in the community, it could be the laxity of the government in dealing with drugs. So there are a lot of reasons behind these reasons, no? And that is the very concept of problem-oriented kasi we are trying to go deeper and deeper to understand really what are the different reasons, no? For us to understand better what are the causes of the existence of this thing, no? Dito maganda kasi nga police officers are being trained to be analytic, no? Hindi yung kapag nakita nila, for example, Mr. Pedro ng hold up, the reason could be walang-wala na siyang pera. No? But the fact that poverty can be caused also by other factors, the police officer should think on that manner so that they could probably come up with a better solution. Kasi alam mo, kapag ang police officer natin nag-focus lang sa arrestuhin nila ng arrestuhin, kumbaga yung mga criminal na yan, they're not solving criminality. To be honest, they're not solving criminality. They're just reacting towards the existence of criminality. No? Parang kumbaga, kapag may butas, tatapalan mo. Kapag may butas na naman, tatapalan mo. Habang buhay ka na lang magtatapal ng butas if you're not going to address the real problem. No? You get the point? No? So unless the real problem is being identified, then there is no way to end the existence of criminality. No? So it's very interesting to talk about the problem-oriented policing kasi I believe this is not new, no? But for the purpose of the subject, this presents a more analytical understanding to the existence of criminality. As although you are talking about theories of crime causation, di ba, na-discuss natin yan, what are the reason why people commit crime. Dito natin pwedeng i-apply yan sa tinatawag nating problem-oriented policing. Kasi kapag nalalaman natin ang different reason why people commit crime, we can do something about it para ma-address natin ito. No? Later on in our upcoming discussion, there will be some strategies that will be developed, that will be discussed, no? And we will see that the effect of problem-oriented policing is more beneficial than the reactive policing methods or methodologies, no? So, under the problem-oriented policing, this carries out the commitment. Kailangan committed ang ating mga kapulisan in implementing whatever the new strategies that they will develop through these types of policing, no? And also, it needs to also to be evaluated, no? The effectiveness of this type of policing must be regularly evaluated and subsequent reporting the result in ways that will benefit other police agencies. This is the benefit of this kasi if we try to understand if a certain unit will try to use this type of policing strategies, no, the proceed, no, the effect, no, the benefits of this may be enhanced furthermore. No? Kasi sabi nga natin, there is no such thing as perfect policing system. No? Laging may butas ang ating mga policing system. Laging merong pagkukulang ang ating mga policing system. But the mere fact that we're focusing on the different problems, the higher we increase our tendency to really provide an efficient and effective solution for the existence of criminality. And also, no, it supports a further professionalization of the police force. Kasi hindi na nagiging judgmental ang mga police officer natin if we are adapting through this. And there's, as I've stated, they will be more analytical in dealing with criminality. Hindi yung kapag may nag-commit ng crime, sasabihin, addict ka siguro kaya ka nag-commit ng crime. That's not all. No? Hindi lang yan yung pwedeng makita nating dahilan. There are more issues to this. No? And with this, no, kapag kasi mas nauunawaan mo kung bakit nagko-commit ng crime ang isang tao, mas nagiging lenient or mas nagiging professional yung approach mo, no, sa pagtrato sa mga criminals natin. No? Remember what Lombroso said. Ang sabi ni Lombroso, criminals are sick individual. How are we treating our sick? No? Our beloved yung mga mahal natin sa buhay. Kapag sila ay may sakit, how are we treating them? Are we going to say, ayan kasi, no, gagawa-gawa ka ng ganyan, tapos ngayon magkakasakit ka, tapos ngayon tawag doon, magpapaalaga ka. Ganun ba yung treatment natin? No. Now, we are more compassionate in dealing with them kasi we know that they are suffering something. Diba? Mas nagiging makatao yung pagtrato natin sa kanila kasi alam natin may pinagdadaanan sila. And if we try to be analytical with the existence of criminality, wala ka nang makikitang mga police officer that are abusive, no? Na kapag yung isang tao nang hinuli nila na nag-commit ng crime, makakaranas pa ng physical torture kasi police officers are looking at them as an individual that don't deserve a humanistic approach and so on. Mawawala yun. Kasi pag ang isang police officer analytical and he is focused on the existence, no, of the problems that contributes to what he had done, mas nagiging humanistic yung approach niya. Halimbawa, hinuli niya si Mr. Pedro, nagnakaw. No? Mas magiging sympathetic siya sa kalagayan ni Mr. Pedro, knowing that it is not really, he is not doing that just because it is it's make his living more easier to live, no? Pag hinuli niya, hindi niya iisipin ayan kasi magnanakaw ka, hindi ka karapat dapat tratuhin bilang tao kasi magnanakaw ka. Hindi ka karapat dapat tratuhin tao kasi nakapatay ka ng kapwa mo tao. Hindi na ganoon yung magiging approach. Rather, magiging sympathetic na sila sa kalagayan ni Mr. Pedro, no? Kawawa naman si Mr. Pedro nagnakaw. Kawawa naman si Mr. Juan pumatay. Ano kaya ang pwede namin gawin para nang sa ganon wala nang maging katulad niya? Nagagawa ng ganitong krimen para lamang sa isang bagay or whatsoever. So, ito yung maganda, no? This is one of the interesting notion under the problem-oriented policing kasi it's not only affecting our crime rate, but also it affects the professionalism of the PNP organization, and I do hope that it will also affect how the community views the criminals. Kasi nowadays, honestly speaking, community, no? Ang community, even tayo, I admit that, even tayo, kapag may sinabing kriminal, we fell aloof, parang malayo ang loob natin sa mga yan kasi nakikita natin sila as dangerous individual, no? But then if we are going to focus really on the different problems and factors that contributes why this person became like that, no, nagiging mas sympathetic yung approach natin sa kanila. That would be a new breath of air, kumbaga magiging fresh yan sa field ng law enforcement. Okay? Now, let's talk about the key elements of problem-oriented policing. Tignan natin ito, yung mga key elements niya. Key argument ng problem-oriented policing. We have number 1, problem is the basic unit of police work rather than crime, case, calls, incidents. No? So talaga dapat ang pinitignan ng kapulisan natin as suggested by the problem-oriented policing is to look for problems. No? Yung problema dapat yung i-identify nila. Yun yung dapat tignan nila. Secondary na lang dyan yung existence of crime, yung mga case na yan, yung mga report or incident that they need to respond. No? If they really wanted to come up or build a better community, a secured, no, wherein peace and order is being honored, they should really focus on identifying the problem and solving the root cause of this of the existence of criminality. No? So yun yung dapat pinaka-basic problem, pinaka-basic issue na titignan nila. What are the problems that cause this thing to exist? No, especially in criminality. No? I'll give you an example. For example yan, in a certain area, dumadami ang kaso ng pambubugbog. Yan. There are mugging, physical injuries, no? Merong riot every now and then within that area. So what do you think would be the best approach? Number one, are you going to arrest everyone that is involved therein? Number two, are you going to put officers in the area, no? Lagyan mo ng maraming police officer doon na magpatrol doon, lagyan mo ng CCTVs doon sa area na yan para nang sa ganun ay wala nang mag-commit ng crime. Na doon sa area na yan, wala nang mag-riot whatsoever. Etong mga to are temporary. No? Etong mga to are temporary. Okay? I remember a joke that was said in one of my class. Sabi nga doon, to solve the problem on criminality, especially doon sa pagpasok, pag-akyat bahay, maglagay ka ng aso, maglagay ka ng CCTV. No? Later on, hindi naman na-solve. Kundi, ang nangyari pa, ninakaw yung aso, ninakaw din yung CCTV. Okay? So there are tendencies, of course, that our solution will just incinerate the situation. So with this, no, rather than trying to come up with a reactive measure, no, why not try to identify the root cause of this? Baka naman mamaya kasi ang dami-daming inuman dyan sa area na yan. Baka naman mamaya kasi kaya nagkakarayot dyan kasi rampant ang drugs dyan sa area na yan. Baka naman kasi nagkakarayot dyan kasi ang dami-daming gangs that are present in that area. You try to address those. What can you do, no? Kung na-identify mo na, ang dami-dami kasing inuman dito eh. No? Kahit alas 12 na ng gabi, open pa rin sila, may video okay, may alak and whatsoever. No? Tapos dagdagan mo pa, ang dami-daming mga gangs dito, no? Lahat ng kanto merong may teritoryo diyan, may gang diyan, no? Dagdagan mo pa na meron palang mga drug dealers diyan dahil maraming gangs, marami ring nagbebenta ng mga drugs, no? So those are the possible reason kung bakit lagi na lang may riot diyan, lagi na lang may nabubugbog diyan, no? Na pwede nating bigyan ng solution. Okay? And that can be done through identifying first the problem in that area, no? Kasi kung titignan natin yung criminality as the problem itself, wala na. We will stop on that. We should not look at criminality as the problem, but rather that is already the effect. So what causes them? Yun yung i-identify natin kasi yun yung problem talaga. It's not the crime. What causes the crime to exist? That's the real problem. No? So that's one of the key elements of problem-oriented policing. Second, a problem is something that concerns or causes harm to a citizen, not just the police. No? Things that concern only the police officers are important, but they are not problems in the sense of term. No? So we should not focus only on the things that will endanger the police officer, but the community as a whole. Remember that the police officers are the protector of the community. Tama? So ang titignan nila dapat the problem dyan is what causes harm to the general public. No? What are the things that causes harm to the general public? And as I've stated, that could be crime. But what really causes crime to exist? Again, we identify what problem is there to incinerate the commission or the increase of criminality within that area. No? Next, addressing problem means more than quick fixes. It means dealing with the condition that create the problems, as I've stated. No? Addressing problems, hindi yan nangangahulugan that you should, provide an immediate program that would address it. Kaya kaninang example natin doon sa number 1, no? Since maraming nagbubugbugan, maraming nag-aaway, maraming nagrarayot diyan sa area na yan, what did we do? Naglagay tayo ng police officer sa area. What did we do? Naglagay tayo ng CCTV doon sa area. What did we do? Naglagay tayo ng maraming pailaw doon sa mga madidilim na eskinita. No? That's a quick fix. No? Madali ang pag-resolve yan. But in long term, that will not address the real problem. Kasi yung mga yan, for example, bakit 24/7 ba ang police officer nandyan sa lugar na yan? No. Kailangan niyang umuwi. Kailangan magkaroon ng pagpapalit. No? There are some times na kukulangin ka ng tao sa istasyon, kailangan mong i-pull out itong mga ito na nagpapatrol. Or even they are assigned there, no? It's not really, it is sometimes, impossible that they would stick to their duty all throughout, no? Kaya yung mga ibang nagpapatrol, tingin mo talagang nandyan ba sila, nakasubaybay and whatsoever, at kayang-kaya ba nilang bantayan yung buong area na yan? No. So may loopholes pa rin ito. Yung CCTV, for example, yan. Kahit may CCTV, no? Anong magagawa ng CCTV? Only to record. But, the issues therein is that if something is happening, like for example, Mr. Pedro, no, binubugbog siya, nakukuha na ng CCTV, na-record siya ng CCTV. But what can the CCTV do in order to help Mr. Pedro in his situation? Anong magagawa ni CCTV para matulungan si Mr. Pedro? No? Kung napatay si Mr. Pedro dyan, siguro ang tulong na lang ng CCTV is to provide evidence for the prosecution of his crime. But if a good solution was created, then hindi dapat umabot sa ganun, no? Na kung saan is hindi kailangan mamatay ni Mr. Pedro kasi we develop a better solution than just putting CCTV. I'm not saying that etong mga measures na to are not good, no? Actually, maganda yan na may CCTV. It has a deterrence factor. But the problem is that it does not really address the root cause of the problem that we are trying to solve. No? Hindi yan re-resolva doon sa talagang problema nating gustong solusyonan. Okay? So, ang problem-oriented policing are not focused on this in coming up with the quick fixes. No? Hindi siya hindi yun yung pinaka-purpose niya na magbigay ng madali ang solusyon. Ang purpose niya is to create a long-term program that would address the problem in a long-term basis. Okay? That's the very concept of problem-oriented policing. 4. Police officer must routinely and systematically analyze the problem before trying to solve them. That's basically true. No? As I've stated, police officer under this type of policing program needs to become analytical. No? Before coming up with a solution, before trying to enforce whatever is needed to be enforced, they must try to analyze first the problem. Wag yung banat, sige banat agad. No? Kasi may tendency dyan that you are might going to incinerate the problem itself. No? Baka mamaya is mas lalo mo pang pinalala yung problema. So, before a certain program must be implemented by the law enforcer, then they must have analyzed first the real problem or the real cause of the existence of that problem within the area. No? That's why, kagaya din ng pag-iimbestiga ng ating mga kapulisan, no? Ganon din dapat sila ka-analytical when it comes to determining, analyzing, understanding the root cause of the problem in that area. Siguro dahil nakita mo puro drugs ang mga kasong involved dyan, inisip mo na lang that the problem really is drugs. Dahil maraming addict dyan sa area na yan, inisip mo that the reason for this is drug addiction. But again, what do you think are the reason bakit maraming drugs dyan? Like for example, availability of the supply. No? Ang tinitignan mo lang is drug is the problem. Pero hindi mo lang alam, meron pa palang mas malalang problema na nagiging dahilan kung bakit maraming addicted sa drugs yan sa area na yan. Gaya ng, for example, sabi ko nga, the availability of drugs within that area. kung parang ano lang yan, parang balot lang yan na pwede mong bilhin sa kahit saang sulok dyan sa lugar na yan, talagang maraming maa-addict dyan. No? Kasi it is available in the area. Pwedeng kahit sino makabili. No? Without worrying na sila ay mahuhuli ng pulis. No? Without worrying na sila ay makukulong and whatsoever. So that is another problem that we need to solve. Sabi nga natin, in every problem, there are reasons or factors that contributes to the existence of that issue, of that problem. So, kailangan nating maging analytical when it comes to dealing with crime, when it comes to proposing a solution, when it comes to understanding the very concept of the existence of criminality. 5. The analysis of problem must be true even though it may not need to be complicated. Now, the principle is as true as for problem analysis as it is for criminal investigation. Yeah, that's the thing. No? We must be as analytical as we are trying to find the cause of the existence of crime. No? Analytical naman ng mga investigator natin when it comes to criminal investigation. Why not apply that also to crime solution? No? So, sa investigation, how do we do this? No? Lahat ng aspect tinitignan natin. Don't leave stone unturned, sabi nga nila. No? Lahat ng pwedeng anggulo, tignan mo. That's true in criminal investigation. Why not apply the same principle in analyzing the problem, in analyzing the existence of criminality? No? Tignan mo lahat ng aspeto or ng anggulo kung bakit or paano magkaroon ng criminality within that area. And by doing that, we are trying really to follow the concept of problem-oriented policing. No? So that's number 5. 6, problem must be described precisely and accurately and be broken down into specific aspect of the problem. No? Problems are not what they first to appear to be. That's true. No? Diba? Miss Gemma and Miss Lian stated that the problem or the factor of criminality could be poverty. The factor to criminality could be drug addiction. From that factor, from that problem that we made mention, can we break that down into pieces to really address the specific problem? The answer is yes. Now, kung for example, poverty is caused by the fact that those individuals living there are kulang sila sa edukasyon, kaya hindi sila makahanap ng tamang trabaho, hindi sila makahanap ng sustainable na trabaho, and so on. So what can we do to address that? That has something to do with education. That has something to do with livelihood. No? That has something to do with the opportunities that they get in order to be employed. So there is something we can do to that. No? So it means that even from the cited factors, there could be another factors that must be cited to that. No? So they should be precisely and accurately described. No? So as we can come up with a better way of dealing with it. We could devise a program that would really address the different issues we cited from different possible angles that may exist. No? So it's very good concept of policing, itong problem-oriented na to. No? Minsan kasi akala natin yun na. No? Akala natin that criminality is caused by, free will. Criminality is caused by poverty. Criminality is caused by drug addiction, alcohol consumption. Criminality is caused by, dahil sorry guys, so I was disconnected. Okay, so we are already on number 7, no? Number 7, the problems must be understood in terms of the various interests at stake. individual and groups of people are affected in different ways by a problem and have different ideas about what should be done about the problem. That's true, ano? So there's a need, sabi ko nga kanina, there's a need for coordination and consultation with the different agencies of the government. Actually, the member of the community should participate as well. Kasi the issues on criminality does not only concern the PNP. Hindi lang issue, ang crime is not only the concern of the law enforcement, but rather it's the concern of everybody. Why? Because we all have the equal chance, no, to be victimized, to be engaged into criminality. Pare-pares lang tayo, hindi porket mayaman ka, mas maliit na yung tendency mo or chance mo na maging biktima ng crime. No, we all have the equal tendency. That's why, in dealing with this, no, we must try to see and look at it in a different perspective. No? So if there are a lot of groups there, no, siguro iba yung pagkakaunawa ng mga ito sa mga issues na to ng mga religious leader. Like for example, in the issues of poverty. Iba ang magiging pananaw niya ng mga religious leader. Iba rin yung magiging pananaw niya ng mga nasa law enforcement. Iba rin ang magiging pananaw niya ng mga business owners natin. So there is a need for consultation, no? For us to have, a better understanding on this, on the different perspective. Hindi porket yan yung pananaw mo, tama ka na. Pwedeng yung pananaw ng iba, pwede ring maging tama. So when it comes to developing or development of program on how we try to approach or solve the issues, we must involve not only the law enforcement, but all the possible groups that are present therein that has something to do with the criminality in that area. No? For example, business owners. Tingin mo, ano kaya yung tingin nila sa dahilan kung bakit merong problema or bakit merong criminality, bakit ganun kataas ang criminality dyan sa area na yan. No? Kasi yung sa atin, of course, on a criminological perspective only. Pero paano naman yung mga nasa business area? Sa tingin mo, ganun din ba kaya ang kanilang pananaw? Pwedeng iba. No? Pwedeng ang isipin nila is because mataas ang presyo ng bilihin. Because Because hindi sila makakuha ng mga pangangailangan talaga nila. Walang support from the government for them to be able to get yung mga needs nila. Like for example, in terms of livelihood, no? Dahil walang na-provide sa kanilang training, wala na talaga silang aasahang iba, kaya doon na lang sila sa pagnanakaw. And whatsoever. It could be that they would think that the real reason of the existence of criminality is because kulang yung mga kapulisang nagpapatrol within that area, kaya hindi na deter yung mga criminal na ito to commit crime. So they have different understanding to the root cause of criminality. No? So we need to involve them in coming up with a better solution. No? Kasi hindi lang, sabi nga natin, hindi lang yung anggulo natin ang tamang anggulo. No? Pwede rin na yung mga issues na alam ng mga different organization or different groups within the community, pwede rin tama. So we need to collate all of them for us to have a better understanding or for us to have a better chance to understand really the real cause of criminality. Okay? 8. The way the problem is currently being handled must be understood and the limits of effectiveness must be openly acknowledged in order to come up with a better response. As I've stated, there is no perfect policing system. Even problem-oriented policing has its limitations and we must admit that. No? May limitasyon yan. Like for example, we identified that the problem is lack of opportunities. Poverty is one of the reasons. Lack of opportunities is also the reason. So what we did na ang ginawa nating programa is to train individuals to have a livelihood, no, on their own. It does not mean that already solved the problem, no? Kasi kahit nga yung mga binibigyan ng pampuhunan, binibigyan ng training, no, nagko-commit pa rin sila ng crime once they failed in their business venture, no? Pag nalugi na naman sila, babalik na naman sila doon. So there is really a limitation for each and every programs that we develop. And we must try to admit the existence of that for us to come up with a better response. Kasi kung alam natin na ito pwedeng maging butas to ng programa natin. Ito pwedeng maging pwedeng maging negative ito kasi pwedeng ito yung pwedeng nilang gawin para nang sa ganun, no? May criminality pa rin. Like for example on drugs, no? So ang ginawa natin as suggested by Miss Lian is that huliin natin yung mga drug lords. Okay? So pinaghuhuli natin yung mga drug lords, no? Ang nangyari na nabigyan ng opportunity naman yung mga nasa ibaba ng organisasyon na magtayo ng sarili nilang organisasyon. So that could be the negative impact of this, and we must admit that these possibilities has the tendency to exist. Pwede yun, no? Kasi hindi nangungulugan na pag pinutol mo na yung ulo, babagsak ng isang organisasyon. That's not true. Pag pinutol mo ang ulo, di papalitan lang nila, no? Papalitan lang nila yung kanilang boss. Papalitan lang nila yung kanilang financer. Pero yung mga iba na yan, yung mga galamay niya, pwedeng magkanya-kanya yan at magtayo ng sarili nilang organisasyon, mas dumami patuloy ang problema, no? Instead na isa lang yung pinoproblema mong drug cartel na yan, dahil pinutol mo yung ulo, pinatay mo yung kanilang leader, no? Yung mga galamay niya, nagsipagtayo ng sarili nilang organisasyon. So those are the possible limitations, and we must admit that so that we can try to provide a backup plan to the programs that we are trying to implement. Ano? So anong plano mo ngayon if in case na ganun nga yung mangyari? Develop a positive response. No? Dapat handa. Okay? Number 9. Initially, any and all possible responses to a problem should be considered so as not to cut short potential effective responses. Suggested responses should follow from what is learned during the analysis. No? And they should not be limited to, no? Or rule out. Hindi mo pwede, hindi yan pwede. No? Pag nag-suggest ang isa, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, wala, hindi yan effective eh. No? Wag ganun. So in every problem that is being discussed, many would suggest a new way of dealing with it, and they should be taken into consideration. So kung sabi ng mga business owners, ganito dapat ang solution, wag mo sabihin, mali kayo. Wag na natin gawin yan kasi that's waste of effort. Instead, you try to come up with a plan wherein all of the suggestions when it comes to dealing with the problems are all included. No? Kumbaga, try mong gumawa ng programa na kung saan lahat ng suggestion na sinasabi nila na magaganda naman, naka-compact lahat doon. No? Naghalo-halo doon para maka-build up ng stronger crime crime prevention program, no? So yun yung pinaka-concept niyan. Huwag nating sabihin agad that's not effective, that's useless, that's pointless, and so on. Every solutions or every suggestions and every ideas must be taken into consideration and try to understand if really it holds potential. Kasi baka mamaya yung nireject mong solution, yung nireject mong suggestion, yun pala talagang pwedeng makasolve, no? So, you must not rule out everything, no? Hindi porket yun yung idea mo, yun lang yung gusto mong masunod. Baka pwedeng dagdagan niya ng iba, baka pwedeng pagandahin niya ng iba, para nang sa ganun ay mas ma-enhance pa yung effectiveness ng solution ng program na gagawin ninyo. Okay? 10. Police must proactively try to solve problems rather than just react to the harmful consequences of the problem. No? We're trying to state that kanina pa, no? That the police officer must be proactive. No? Wag puro arrest, wag puro bypass, no? Wag doon mag-focus. Focus on the real issues here, no? And the real issue is the root cause of the crime, no? Kasi sabi nga natin, kung tapal ka lang ng tapal, hindi mo talaga masusolusyonan yan. Instead of coming up with a long-term solution, with a better plan, no? Nagsasayang ka lang ng effort mo. Like for example, inaresto mo yung mga addict dyan sa area na yan, no? Pero nandyan pa rin naman yung mga pusher. Okay? So, do you think wala nang ibang papalit sa mga yon? Do you think wala nang ulit may ipapanganak na addict dyan sa lugar na yan? No. No? Inaresto mo lahat ng hold-upper dyan sa area na yan. Pero ang reality is mahihirap pa rin talaga ang mga nakatira dyan. So, do you think wala na ang maisisilang or wala nang magiging magnanakaw dyan sa area na yan? Again, no. No? As long as the root cause is not removed, the crime problem will continue to exist no matter what. So, yan yung pinaka-point niyan. Police officer must not focus on reactive measures. Rather, they must focus on proactive measures, and that involves the identification of the problem and providing a resolution of the problem. Okay? Next is we have, last na to, 11. The police department must increase police officers' freedom to make or participate in the so-called important decision-making. At the same time, officers must be accountable for the decision they make. No? So, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina under key point number 9, wherein every possible solutions that are being suggested by everyone that has something to do or that knows the issues must be taken into consideration. No? Ang isang police department, sometimes kailangan din makinig, no, sa mga tao talagang nandoon sa field. For example, Mr. Pedro, no, was always in charge of patrolling in the area. Nakikita niya kung ano talaga ang problema. And when Mr. Pedro suggested to the department that ito dapat ang gawin natin, mga sir, mga ma'am, no? Ito dapat ang gawin natin kasi ito yung nakikita ko sa tuwing nagpapatrol ako dyan sa area na yan. So sometimes they don't listen. Why? Because either, since he is involved in patrol, mababa lang ranko mo. No? Wala kang karapatang mag-suggest, wala kang karapatang kumbaga yung experience mo, yung pangunawa mo sa issues na to, hindi pa sapat. That sometimes is true. Nangyayari minsan yan. So in order for the police department to progress, even the police organization to progress, they must be willing to listen to what the people in the field are saying, no, in relation to the problem that are existing. Mahirap kasi the policymakers are not really experienced, hindi naman talaga sila nandoon sa field, Hindi naman nila nararanasan or nakikita personally with their own eye kung ano talagang nangyayari sa baba. And they are the one who are making the policies. They are the one who are making the programs. So, what do you expect? No? Unless they would try to listen to everybody's concern, especially those person on the field, kasi sila mismo yung nakakaalam. No? At kapag pinakinggan mo yung kanilang mga suggestions, mga ideas, the result would be a better crime prevention program. That's the reality. Okay? So those are the 11 key points of the problem-oriented policing. Now, if you have questions with the things that I discussed, you are free to ask question now. May tanong ba kayo, guys?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay. Akala ko disconnected na ako. Okay. So, anyway, kung meron kayong mga katanungan later on, we're open naman sa GC natin or sa ating YouTube channel. So, pwede kayong magtanong dun, guys, with regards to this. Kasi, I know, some of my ideas might not be the same with your ideas, and we're open for that. So, if there are no more questions, thank you all for attending this lecture. I do hope you learned something from the things. I do hope I was able to impart some knowledge with regards to the topic that we discussed. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening. See you on the next lecture. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye, sir.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.